Hello and welcome to our Bread for the World podcast. My name is Stefan and today we speak about preparation of online events. Well, I had to take my classes. Good preparation is the be-all and end-all of an online conference as well as of an online training. Consider beforehand with which methods you want to use and how much time you have for the specific methods. The goal of the event should also be clear in advance. The preparation of an online event is of central importance because you have much less time to improvise than in face-to-face events, for example. While in face-to-face seminars, the participants usually don't run away if something doesn't work out as planned. This is not necessarily the case with online events. Since the participants cannot exchange information with each other informally or only with difficulties, their concentration often disappears very quickly if something goes wrong. Really, concentration span is much more difficult to keep in online events. I really like to work with the support team if that's possible. And you should do the same. Consider in advance whether you need support. Because running online meetings and facilitating effectively in a virtual space is really hard work. If you use a chat, screen sharing, external tools in your meeting, consider having a co-moderator or a tech host, moderator who mainly takes care about the technical aspects. This additional person can help you manage the collaboration tools you use, moderate the chat, for example, while you're focusing on the actual video communication, and pass along important questions to you. Having help from the group not only helps everything run smoothly, but also improves team cohesion and engagement. Try it out. Even so, it can be quite helpful if this person is with you in the office or in the studio, wherever you're recording your session. This work obviously also goes virtually. If this support person is not sitting next to you, it might be helpful to have an additional way of communication with him or her. What I personally like, that I just have their telephone number, or we use a messenger tool like WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram in order to have a more private communication during the event if that's necessary. Especially for larger events, it can be helpful if different parts of the program are handled by different people. That's similar to the offline events. Individual participants can take over certain agenda points. And this really has to be prepared in advance so people know how much time they have, etc. So like in offline events, having helpers or co-moderators not only helps everything run smoothly, but also improves the team cohesion and commitment. Really, try it out. Especially in online events, I think a meeting schedule should be really very well organized and prepared beforehand. It should include aspects like who does what, using which methods, how much time do they need. Well, exercise 1, formulate clearly the goal of your next meeting. What do you want to achieve, at which point, which methods you want to use, and who is responsible for a certain point. Sometimes it helps to send out conference rules before the meeting. Conference rules are something like a written code of conduct for online meeting etiquette. It's invaluable in communicating to participants what is expected of them and how they should communicate effectively in a virtual environment. This is especially important for people who are not so experienced with this sort of conferences. And if you have communicated that in advance, it can minimize frustration and also ensure your workshop is effective and on time. So announce your code of conduct before the meeting and reiterate any key point at the beginning of the meeting. You'll find one example of a code of conduct in the cloud, like a handout I prepared on that. So meeting rules could include aspects like be sure to be on time. Meeting room is open 50 minutes before, so you can check the technical aspects. so you can make sure that you are seen and heard good enough. It can include aspects like who is allowed to write to use the chat. Usually it's everybody, but maybe it's in this very occasion it's only the moderators. It can include a short explanation in how to use screen sharing. Are people allowed to join later, or you could ask people not to have any other windows open during the event because it might determine the bandwidth they need for the actual conference. It might include aspects like always keep your video on and mute your sound when you're not speaking. So your second exercise for today, create a small list of rules for your next online meeting. Generally speaking, you always have preliminary information to the participants. This will help participants to prepare for the upcoming meeting so they know what is expected of them, and this will help get as much out of the meeting as possible. Well, obviously, you could also include a short survey or set a preparatory task together with your invitation. And of course, don't forget to include a link to important documents. But also remember that many participants have limited time for additional tasks and may not look at it until just before the event. So, as mentioned so many times before, keep it simple. So, your preparation checklist for a meeting, or things you should do in preparing a meeting, is first of all set up a team and clarify roles. Do you have a tech host? Do you want to have a co-moderator? Who is writing the protocol? Who is supporting in different agenda points? Then create a meeting schedule. Send out the agenda in advance, and then out a technical plan in advance with a note on tools to be used. Send out all these information way in advance so people really can prepare themselves if necessary. And always don't forget to include the invitation link and the password if necessary. Prepare your own PowerPoints or however you want to present your part of the workshop, and make sure that you are familiar with the tools you actually want to use. If all this is done, you are ready for your next online event. Well, I hope I could give you some ideas about what to keep in mind when preparing an online event. My name is Stefan Emmerich, and you were listening to a Bread for the World podcast on online training and online meetings.